it going? How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. I don't know why I almost was borderline singing or doing terrible monotone singing, but it doesn't matter. You're here, and that's what matters. So I really appreciate that. You are listening to Screen Speak. It is the podcast that is all about movies, life, and a hell of a lot more. I'm Jordan Anderson. This is my podcast, and I just want to thank you, as I do in each and every episode, for taking the time to be here. If you haven't done so, yes, I have to do the plugs. I'm so sorry, but it needs to happen. Please hit the follow button. You are listening to this presumably on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts, or wherever you decide to get your podcast. Please hit that follow button. It helps the growth of the show. You can also download episodes as well. I'm actually not always sure why people do that, but I think it helps. So please go ahead and do that. And if you want to follow the podcast on Instagram, there is an Instagram for it. It is simply titled @ScreenSpeak Podcast. So you pull up Instagram, you search for it, you're like, oh, that's ScreenSpeak. That's that guy that talks about movies and whatnot. I'll follow his stuff. And then that's all you have to do. So it's very straightforward. So yeah, that's all I got for the plugs. So please do one or all of those things, and you're going to be in my good graces. And I don't know, I'll just think of you weirdly and just be like, I'm so glad that person I don't know decided to follow this. So okay, that got a little awkward, didn't it? All right, we're gonna progress. With me in the studio, I feel so funny saying studio because really this is a home office. It's certainly not a studio, but I have another guest. It is Kimberly Harford, or do you want me to call you Kim for this?
You can call me Kim. My nickname's also Kimmy, so if you feel inclined to do so.
How often do people call you Kimmy?
Not really often anymore. More so when I was a little younger, but I still have friends that do. So, whatever you feel like calling.
I think I'm gonna stick with Kim. Because that's what I refer to you mostly. Kimberly sounds like you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like it's like Kimberly really, Harford, what did you do?
Yeah, like really official. So.
What is your middle name, by the way?
May.
May?
M-A-E.
Because that's what you're supposed to do when you're fully in trouble is like, Kimberly May Harford, what are you doing?
Yeah.
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 Did that ever happen to you?
Not very often. I was pretty good. I was a pretty good kid.
I can see
most of the time.
You don't seem like much of like a Hellraiser type of child. I mean, you're not a child anymore.
Not too much. I'm just barely not a child anymore.
Barely not a child anymore.
Yeah.
Is that it's a mental thing.
I mean, I definitely don't act my age. So
it's mind over matter, I suppose. But actually, on that subject, I always actually find it interesting when you think about age and sort of, I there's a lot of people I know that are older that don't feel their age, right?
Yeah.
But what I think the separator is, or like kind of like what distinguishes it, is like I think it's okay to feel young at heart and like do that sort of thing, but then it's a difference if you're like, let's say like you're 70. And you're like, I'm going to go down to Hazard's Bar tonight with all the 20-year-olds and listen to Garth Brooks or whoever plays down there. And
it would George Strait. It would
George
be.
Strait.
We had this discussion earlier.
We did.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this doesn't relate to the movie that we're going to talk about, but for my sake and the audience's sake, who is George Strait and why is he so great?
George Strait is amazing. He's my favorite country singer. He's been around since the 80s. So I'm sure you probably have heard, and you'll probably recognize a lot more songs. And
what are some of his songs?
Fireman, The Cowboy Rides Away. I mean, I could list, like, I have pretty much all his songs, so I can...
You have in-depth knowledge of Mr. Strait.
I do.
Okay.
And he's really actually old enough to be my dad, but he's, I still have a kind of a crush on him, so...
He's probably like one of those handsome country guys, right? I mean,
he doesn't really age. I mean, a little older, but
You had Googled him for me, and I saw him, and I think I said, I quote, I'm like, that's a man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, he's rugged, he's got the nice chiseled jawline, got a nice head of hair.
Yeah.
Looks like he can fix things.
Yeah.
That's a man.
Yeah, he's a cowboy. I mean, he rodeos.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I actually, it would be great to talk to somebody that's actually done that, because I've seen that on television, but I actually imagine there's probably a lot of, I don't want to say technical skills that goes into that, but I'm sure there's a lot you have to know about how to like ride it properly and like safety and all those different things.
Yes.
It's actually really interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
There's
Have you ever done that?
I have not rodeoed. I wanted to when I was younger. I had horses. My grandparents had horses, so I grew up around horses. But yeah, I've never done the rodeo thing. But I've been to many rodeos.
Well, where did you grow up?
In Iowa.
Okay.
So I'm just in small town.
Small town?
Yeah.
Did they have but you said that you wished you had done the rodeo.
So I helped with rodeos. Like I helped during high school. I was in FFA and 4-H, and so
what is FFA? Is that like a farmer
Future
alliance?
Farmers of America. Yep.
Okay.
And then 4-H. And so yeah, we would go and help out. We had a high school rodeo. They had it at our fairgrounds, and yeah, we'd go up there and help out with that and get calves in the chute to rope and that kind of fun stuff.
We need to find a movie that has farming stuff in it, or things. Is
George Strait's in a movie.
Which
Pure Country.
movie?
Pure Country.
When did this come out? Tell me.
In the 90s.
Pure Country.
So yeah, basically he's kind of playing it himself a little bit. His name is Dusty in the movie.
Dusty.
And he is a country singer, and he's burned out with all the lights and crazy. Because if you've ever seen George Strait in concert, he's stand there and sing his music. He's not like flying through the air and all that, which is awesome because it's nice to just
he's very focused
watch
on
him.
the music.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly. And so yeah, he plays a country singer, but he's burnt out with all the stage show and the crazy. So he kind of runs away from his life for a little while, and just kind of progresses from there. So yeah.
So that's the recommendation.
I recommend that. Yeah.
Pure Country, available on. I don't know. Is it available on Amazon? Can people find it on these
probably,
streaming?
yeah.
Something
probably.
like that. You can bootleg it too. Let's just be real.
Yeah, I mean, you can find it anywhere. Yeah.
Fantabulous.
Yeah.
That's not a word, but we're gonna keep going. So, it is the Thanksgiving time of year, the time of giving, the time of being grateful for what you have, and I sound kind of jokey in that tone, but I expect this episode's going to go in a lot of different directions because the movie that we're talking about also does. It is funny, it's heartfelt, it's bittersweet, it's kind of heartbreaking in some ways, but it's also real, it's relatable. There's a lot of different things that I'd say about it, but that is the fantastic movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Steve Martin and the late, great John Candy. I'm going to look up the synopsis here because I normally have it in front of me, but I did not think to, for whatever reason, pull it up here. So, Kim, can you fill the dead air while I'm doing this?
Ooh, that's a big... I am a newbie to podcast. So.
Have you ever been on one?
No, this is my first one, and thank you for having me because I'm so excited.
Yeah,
to just sit here and talk about one of my favorite movies. So
I love good conversation, and I love movies, and I used to do YouTube. I think I told you that, right? I used to do YouTube. Not some, but the videos are still out there. So if somebody wants to find them, they can. I'm not going to tell you how, but they're there. I did them for a long time, but I just really found that podcasting is more my speed. I don't have to do as much like editing and things like that. And I actually like the challenge that it presents for growing your conversation skills, and then just having good conversation. It's just something that doesn't really happen as much these days. I sound like an old person there.
I totally agree. I like talking to people and not like in front of a computer screen, or I like talking like in front of a computer screen like what we're doing right now.
Yeah,
but we're still face to face. Like we're still talking. Yes. We're still in the same room. And
there's a connection. Yeah, I feel it. I understand it. Okay, so I'm going to read the synopsis here, and then we are going to dive in to all the good stuff that there is to talk to about planes, trains, and automobiles. So I'm reading this from Google. Easily excitable Neil Page, played by Steve Martin, is somewhat of a control freak. That's a bit of an understatement. Trying to get home to Chicago to spend Thanksgiving with his wife and his kids. But his flight gets rerouted to a distant city in Kansas because of a freak snowstorm, and that's when his sanity begins to fray. I like that. I like that fray word. That's one you don't hear every day. But worse yet, he's forced to bunk with the talkative Del Griffith, which is played by the late, great John Candy, whom he finds extremely annoying. But together they must overcome the insanity of holiday travel so that they can reach their intended destination, which again is Chicago, Illinois. Um, I want to talk about one thing that just popped up in that synopsis because I didn't have it in my notes on here, but I like that they did mention the insanity of the holidays because travel can be hectic, I think, any given point of the year, but there is definitely something about if you've traveled in like the busy season of the holidays, people are less patient. They're rushing. They're kind of they're a little bit crazy. They're trying to get everything ready for their families. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm very lucky actually. Most of my close family lives close to me, so the farthest I usually have to travel for the holidays is like maybe a half hour away.
So have you ever had to like go a great distance to be with somebody
not
like
for
that?
the holidays. So I mean, we've visited family on different times, but not for like the busy holiday season.
Yeah.
So.
I'm trying to think. I've never really had to do that for the holidays. I do have family in Texas, which I did have a funny travel horror story I was going to share at some point on this. But yeah, generally speaking, most of the family I've seen for like Thanksgiving, Christmas time, they've always been here in Iowa, so I've never really had to worry about that.
Yeah.
But the first thing that I wanted to talk about on here was just a bit of background on the movie because I really wanted to do some research on this and not just treat it as, it's just a fun, light comedy. Because I'm very fascinated with the filmmaking process and how films get put together and whatnot. And what I found out, actually, just from doing research, is that John Hughes, once again, late, great John Hughes, I hate even saying that he's passed away because he passed away in his 50s, I believe. It was from a stroke or a heart attack, something like that. So gone way, way too soon. But he based this story off of his own life. He was documented saying that a version of these events happened to him, that he was actually traveling from New York and he was supposed to go home because he's a Chicago-based guy, and he got delayed in Wichita and it ended up taking him 5 days to get home. He never really expanded on the details of it, but I do find it just interesting that he's like, yeah, this is just something that happened to me, and I'm like, oh, that'd make for a good movie.
Yeah.
And I found out that John Hughes actually based a lot of his movies, loosely based a lot of his movies on just things that happened to him. Which is interesting.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I was going to say just about how this movie came about is I noticed that John Hughes, a lot of people were documenting it, and he admitted it. He wrote the script for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles in 3 to 5 days. Can you believe that?
No, that's kind of crazy. I mean, I guess, the fact that he actually kind of lived the experience helped, but yeah, 3 to 5 days to write a whole script is... I can't really imagine that.
Now, I did see that his script writing process is like he would put the script together as quickly as possible for any of his movies, because the way his writing process worked is that he wanted it to be really fresh. He didn't want to overthink it. He's like, let's just get it on the page and it's going to be there. But then he would be notorious for doing rewrites. He would do rewrites even during filming. Like he would do sometimes like 25, 30 rewrites up until the moment of filming, or, so on and so forth. But I just find it. I think John Hughes was a creative genius.
Oh yeah.
Because like he wrote scripts like that all the time, really quickly, and even if it's just like a draft treatment, it's not like fully finished. If you know anything about movies, there's screenwriters that spend 6 months, a year. They could spend longer on just perfecting every little bit of the script, and just to have him just be like, oh, it's just so natural to me, like just like, bloop, 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 I'm just gonna write it out.
That's
I don't
amazing.
know if enough people appreciate that about John Hughes, but it's remarkable, and it's just sorely sad that he is gone. I don't know. What did you think about John Hughes?
No, that is awesome, and I actually, I mean, he has so many good movies, and they're also entertaining, and I think part of it is because, they're about true life. I mean, this one, I mean, it obviously happened to him in real life, but you can see it. Like, you can picture yourself in that situation. Like,
yeah. And I think what's interesting, too, about Planes, Trains versus some of his other filmography is, like, if you look at, like, Ferris Bueller, Home Alone, Breakfast Club, there's a lot of these different things that he wrote. but I think he got labeled a lot of the time as writing for teenagers.
Yeah.
That's what I think a lot of his movies were. Like Weird Science is another example. And it's not a bad thing because I think he definitely was able to tap into the younger audience. But this was one of the few movies I think that he wrote and directed that really focused on adult humor. And it wasn't trying to capture a youth voice or anything like that. It was just trying to capture very relatable, frustrating humor that happens to people during travel.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that that's just an interesting thing because again, people just tend to focus on the teenage thing, but they don't really focus on that. I don't know. Am I on to something there?
Yeah, I mean, he did, and he had a lot of movies about the teenage life, but then he kind of shifted later on into more of these movies that were more adult, all around, kind of humorous for the whole family.
Where does Planes, Trains rank for John Hughes films with you, or do you think about it even like a ranking?
I haven't really thought too hard about a ranking, but I mean, it's got to be up there pretty close to the top. But
yeah.
I like a lot of his movies, so it's...
Almost every movie I like, or even the ones he writes, because it's funny, because even the ones that he writes, even though he's not directing, he has a very strong voice, I feel, as a writer. So, like, if something's written by John Hughes, I can feel it.
Yeah.
Like, it's very distinct. I'm like, no, it doesn't feel like somebody else is writing. Like, there is something about the way he writes that's very individual to him. Yeah. I mean, he wrote Vacation. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
The Chevy Chase movie.
Yeah. Yep. I was just thinking about that.
And Mr. Mom did that too.
Oh, I love those movies. Yeah. I mean, you can't. I practically got Vacation memorized, and yeah, Mr. Mom was so funny.
I would like to own that movie. I don't
I have
own
it.
that one. You have
I
Mr.
do have
Mom?
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
Michael Keaton. He is.
I love Michael Keaton too.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
I am excited to see him return as Batman. I hope it's going
that
to
would be. Yeah, he was my favorite.
Well, you know, he is returning.
Yeah, I heard that.
For the Flash.
He is he's my favorite of the. So I love Batman. My favorite, of course, is the original TV series
with Adam West.
Adam West.
All
I
right.
love Adam West. But of the Dark Knight series, Michael Keaton was my favorite Batman.
Why is that? Not that this has anything to do with what we're talking about, but
I don't really know. I mean, it was kind of the first one. Plus, I've always been a fan of Michael Keaton, so I think it just kind of built in my head that he's Batman as far as the newer version of Batman, and then there's so many different other Batmans.
Can you believe he's 70?
No, I can't.
70.
No.
Like what?
Yeah,
Beetlejuice is 70?
I know. Oh my gosh, yeah. No. I would not even have guessed that, but
But back to John Hughes on here. Some of the things that I had noted is that I really feel that, you know, aside from a lot of his movies having very relatable humor, they're very real world based. A lot of his characters are extremely relatable. And doing more research on this, and just, I didn't even need to do some research on this because I am a fan of John Hughes. Characters are extremely important to him. I think he actually focuses on characters first. And the story almost comes second, because and that's something I think about the best movies, let alone comedies, is that you care about the characters. And the situations, like, you can build it around them, but if you don't care about the characters and they don't feel like they're fleshed out, then the rest of it's like whatever. So I always felt like he had a real talent for that. But then really the thing I think that if I think of John Hughes, and I think, like, if I had to describe him, like, in one word, it would be heartfelt. I feel like every one of his movies has a lot of heart in it. And it doesn't necessarily mean, like, there's, like, some deep message about what you need to be or something like that. But there's kindness in a lot of his movies. And his movies people are caring for each other. And there's just a real sense of heart that comes across in every one of his movies. And especially this one, I would say. I
agree. And the way I kind of describe it is after you get done watching a John Hughes movie, I think you're like a better person afterwards. You feel like you have that sense of, like, just that feeling of just something good. You just saw something good. Yeah,
and that is funny, because most of his movies, like, they have, like, that feel good quality, but it's never in your face.
No.
It never feels like it's intending to try to make you cheer up or anything like that. It feels real. It feels grounded, but they have good messages.
Yeah, it's just kind of a natural, and I agree, like, with the just the different characters, just they are relatable. I mean, I feel like I could jump into one of these movies and be that that person.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier how he kind of like jots down his main storyline and changes up to the last minute. And I'm kind of I'm a kind of all over the place person.
Fairly
and
impulsive.
So yeah, so I feel like that. I mean, I relate to that. I could see like, oh, I'm gonna do this way, and then all of a sudden, the last 5 seconds, I'm like, no, I just thought of something. Like I'm just gonna change it. But yeah, so I like the fact that he's got so many different characters, and every one of the characters you can kind of see yourself in at some point in your life.
One thing I'll say about that, because I don't have this type of a reaction for every director's movies, but there are certain movies where, like you said, that relatability, you can't help but be like, oh yeah, like I feel like a little bit of that, or feel like a little bit of that. But like most of the time when I watch movies, I'm not usually trying to draw a comparison to myself. I mean, honestly, some people like that's what makes movies more enjoyable for them. They watch them and they're like, oh yeah, like this makes sense for me, and like and that's fine. But yeah, I think from a human level anyway, John Hughes movies were a bit different because they were so character focused and focused on the people's personalities that because of that focus, it is very easy to draw those real life comparisons. Whereas other movies, like if I'm watching something else, I might not be really thinking that. I'm more focused on the story at hand.
Yeah.
But his movies are very character driven.
Yeah, and you always remember his characters. Like there's certain movies, like you just said about, I might watch this movie and it's a great movie, and at the time I'm watching it, the characters were really good. But then, a few days later, I'm like, I don't know, what was that guy's name or what was that girl's name? And then, like when you watch, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I mean, you can picture those characters right in your face right now.
I know Del Griffith and I know Neil Page.
Yes, yes. Yeah, like I know people that are like that. I've been like that myself, so.
So, all right, I want to talk about the main two actors in Hiss. I don't know why I can't speak right now. In this movie, starting with Steve Martin. So, Steve Martin, all these people are living or
Martin,
past due legends. I mean, like, there's a lot of legends in this movie. He's Steve Martin. But I remember, or I shouldn't say I remember, I wasn't alive when this came out. This came out in 87, so... I was
little. I was little.
Alive,
I was
right?
alive. I was little. I was like maybe...
Okay.
10 or 11, I think, at that point.
Did you see this in theaters?
Which one?
This movie, Planes, Trains.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
No, I did not.
Do you know when you saw it for the first time? It's hard to always think about that.
I don't remember, but yeah, it wasn't in the theaters. It was like when I was older. Like
if they ever do a rescreening of this, I would love to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes our local theaters put on stuff like that, but I haven't seen them do one.
This
for
would be
yet.
a really good one for
that. Would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But no, the reason I bring up Steve Martin, I'm trying to talk about when this movie came out because I had done research, of course. And I saw that a lot of people were surprised in a way that his character had as many dramatic moments as he did because Steve Martin was and is mostly known for his comedic chops. But this is definitely one of the few movies I've seen where he is a lot more dramatic than I've seen him in, like, say, like a movie like The Jerk or something, Three Amigos or something like that. I don't know, but like he plays against type, I guess, on this. I don't know. Do you ever think about that? Like actors that are, you think about them in a certain light, but then you're surprised when they go in a different route.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I agree with that. That he's usually when you watch like The Jerk, I mean,
he's
things like that.
He's over the top.
Yeah. And then and then you see him in kind of just more of like a. Here's this dad trying to get home to his wife and kids, and he's frustrated, and it's definitely different. And I always think it's kind of cool when you have an actor like that you're used to seeing them in this certain light, and then all of a sudden you see something, and they're like totally different, and it's weird, but it's awesome at the same time because they're a good actor when they can totally switch.
Absolutely. I think it just means that the person has more range and they're not afraid to go in the different territories.
Yeah.
I know for Steve Martin, like some of the character traits that I noted from him is that his character right away is pretty cold, fairly distant from people. He's very self-absorbed in a way, maybe even a little bit of a narcissist, not really always looking out for other people. You can tell he's very smart. He's obviously very intelligent. But then I think what makes his character, for me anyway, work is that deep down he is a good guy. Like, it frustrates him when he like has to go out of his way to care, but you can just tell that he's compelled. He's like, this is annoying the hell out of me, but I just like, he feels it deep down. And like, if he was just like a cold-hearted asshole and like that's just who he was and he didn't have humanity in him, then I don't think his character would have worked that well.
No, and you can see one of the examples in this movie is the part where they're in the hotel room and he's just going off on John Candy, his character, about how he's, not funny, and you're just, just insulting him. And you can see the, like, pure, like, hurt in John Candy's face. And then all of a sudden he's like, you can insult me all you want, but I like me. And then Steve Martin, you can just see, like,
the remorse.
Everything just drained from his like he's just like, I can't believe I just said that, I feel terrible, but yet he doesn't know what to say after that. So.
I think that scene is, I mean, it's one of the best scenes in the movie, but I think it's actually a complex scene if you think about it. One, in that Steve Martin, it's interesting because I've seen the scene, I've seen the movie multiple times just like you, but when that scene happens, he's yelling at him, but I mean, it's funny. Some of the stuff that he's saying, he's like you're kind of like you're like, this is pretty terrible. But I remember I'm laughing a little bit because he's like, you're like a chatty Cathy dog, and he, he's saying, he's just like, oh, here's the guns, he can blow your head off when you meet Del Griffith. So like he's saying it funny, but it's like you can tell he's acting in such a way that it feels real, and you're like, if that was being delivered towards me and it was really personal, I mean, you'd feel the hurt.
Yeah, that would hurt. And then
it's brutal.
To see John Candy's character be like, just to see him just like the hurt come over his face, like you know that it really, like, he's like, oh my gosh, do I sound like that, like what?
But you know what I really appreciate about that scene, I think for me anyway, is because you're absolutely right to focus on how he's taking the brunt of the blow. And I think it speaks a lot to the character that John Hughes wrote for Del Griffith, that he's a very deeply caring person, flawed as he might be. Like, he's socially unaware of himself, he's a loudmouth kind of whatever. But I think it's a very important scene because I feel in a lot of situations that if you were to swap out Del Griffith with somebody else and you get Steve Martin yelling at you like that, a lot of people I don't think would just sit still and take it. I don't think they would. A lot of people would shout over and be like, hey, like, shut up. Like, like the conversation would start devolving. It would be terrible. But I actually think that even though he doesn't know Neil Page well in the movie, I think he is open to... He sees that he's upset and he wants to hear him out. And I think that speaks a lot to the character. It shows that he actually really is caring, even if it's at the expense of his own self. I don't know if you think about it that way.
But... he totally listened to every word that he was saying, and he let him finish and then he was kind of like, hey, you can say this stuff about me, but I'm... That
scene breaks my heart always. And the music helps with it too, because it plays that's... I can't imitate the music, but it cues in and you're just like, oh man, I feel like shit from seeing John Candy get
then you
ripped.
kind of start getting a little teary.
But John Candy, we can talk about him now. I mean, rest in peace, and I miss him. I miss him dearly. He's one of those guys that comes across so personable and so loving. I feel like people think they knew him.
Oh yeah, like
you feel
he really is like Uncle Buck. Like I could totally see him being my uncle, and you forget how young he was when he did pass away.
Yeah, was he the 42? He was like, maybe less.
Maybe I think he was even younger than that.
I gotta find out.
Yeah, I want to say he was like upper 30s.
Let me see, John Candy, death age.
Yeah, I think he was
43.
Okay, he was okay. I was thinking he was younger than that, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
he just has such a warmth about him, and it wasn't just in this movie, but I mean, in particular, this movie, I mean, the guy is irritating as all hell. I mean, he takes off his socks, he's like, oh, oh, like my dogs are barking today, and
Making
you're just
the
like,
noise when he's trying to sleep and clearing his whatever he's
you
doing.
know, I gotta comment on that scene. I gotta comment on that scene real quick. The scene the moment in that scene that gets me every time is when the lights are off, they're flying, and that old man just goes, like it's Steve Martin's face, and then he's just like, oh, like good God, with utter disgust. But then he looks over, and John Candy's just like, we're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
Something like that. I'm not saying it right, but John Candy is as rude and terrible as he is for some instances. I can't help but like Del Griffith. I feel like if I met a guy like Del Griffith, I'd be like, this guy's kind of a character, but like he's so sweet.
Yeah.
Like, I love him.
Yeah. You can't help but love him.
Yeah, and that's that's part of the message of this movie is that you take a cold-hearted cynic, as John Candy calls him in the movie. Mm-hmm. You take a cold-hearted cynic and you mix it with somebody that is very giving and warm and gentle, though a bit naive, and I would just say lacking of self-awareness. Because I never thought of Del as rude. I never thought of him as rude. I do think that he lacks a bit of self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Because he's focused on other people a lot, but sometimes he forgets his own actions. Yeah. But I never felt him as rude. But it's one of my favorite John Candy performances.
Me too. I feel like he's trying to just please people, so he in turn doesn't realize some of the things he's doing. Sometimes people don't know that they're, what they're actually doing. They're just trying to get conversation going. Or
do you feel like you have a self-awareness about yourself, like when it comes to like your actions and its effect on other people?
I mean, for the most part, but there's times where I'm just kind of like, I'm just gonna talk and go on and on and on, and like, am I, I stop. Am I being annoying? Like, am I talking too much? I don't.
Yeah, it can be difficult for that. I don't think it's a good idea generally to ask the other person, because most times...
Yeah, I usually don't.
Like if you're just like, hey, am I annoying you? Like, how often is someone going to be like, actually, you know what? I'm so glad you brought that up. You absolutely are.
Really annoying me, yeah. No, I don't feel like I'm pretty self-aware, but there's times where I'm like, I just get going, and then I get distracted, and I start talking about something else, and
Yeah, but his character is just, it's fantastic in this movie. I mean, it really is. And I mean, John Candy, he plays it just right. I think he does just the right amount of comedy, but then when he needs to be serious, it doesn't feel like John Hughes was like having to restrain him and like get it out of him. I feel like it's such a shame. I hate saying it, but like if John Candy was still around, the performances I think that he would have given past his death, like, it kills me. It kills me thinking about it, because I really adored the guy.
Yeah,
I really did.
I agree. Yep. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, I can't even think of any movie I've seen him in that's not that he wasn't like that lovable. Guy that you.
In some ways though, like I look at John Candy, John Hughes. These are both people that have passed away, but when I look back at somebody that has passed away and they've left behind a body of work when it comes to movies, in a way, like it's bittersweet, but it's beautiful to me, because I'm like, what a gift that your life continues to bring entertainment and joy to people years beyond your passing. And I don't like for myself, I'm not trying to get super dark on here, but like when I pass, I don't know if I'm going to leave behind some type of a legacy that's going to impact like that. And I don't know. I mean, if heaven is real and both the Johns are there, I really just hope that they know what their work did for people. Mm-hmm. I really hope they know.
Yeah, you said it. Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. I don't know. You just can't beat John Candy.
John Candy, if you're listening from the beyond, you're an amazing man.
We love you.
Yeah, we do love you. He's the type of guy, too, where, like, I'm telling you, like, I'd probably be weird if I saw him on the street and just be like, can I give you a hug?
Yeah.
Like, you're so
and,
great.
And I bet he would totally be, yeah,
I bet
come
he would
on
do
in,
it.
like
I
bring it in.
bet he would do it.
Yeah, I can see him being. I mean, I
Yeah.
never heard. You know, you hear those stories about celebrities,
heard anyone
and
bad about
I've
him.
never
No.
ever heard anybody say, "Oh, you know, he was a jerk in real life."
And you know that stuff would come out past his
yeah,
in real
yeah,
life.
because
Like,
he's
people
not
would
here.
talk.
People talk.
They
Yeah,
would. No. He had an amazing reputation for just being like he is on screen. It's not like he would act, of course. He wouldn't be just like his characters. But from all the different behind the scenes and research I've done, people have nothing but warm regard for him.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I mean, if your legacy is do you hear my cat?
Yeah.
Do you mind actually opening the door? You can let her in. That's okay.
She's trying to come in. She wants to join the party.
Come on. My cat is, this is a first, everybody, but Clarice, my cat, that I don't think I've ever mentioned on this, she is a part of the podcast right now.
So she came in, and now she's like, I think I want to go back out, but...
Yeah, she can chill. She uses my theater chair as the little bench down there as a scratching post, but nah, she's cool.
Oh,
she's nice. It's actually interesting. She doesn't really meow. Cause you have a cat.
Yeah,
right?
I have 2 cats. Yeah.
Are they vocal?
When they're hungry.
Yeah, well, okay, I should say Clarice does meow when she's hungry, but if it's like any other time, like just like meh, like no, not really.
Yeah, when they're hungry, they usually do. Yeah. Otherwise, my cats aren't too vocal either.
Do they purr loud?
I mean, once in a while, if you.
Right.
They don't always like to be held. Well, one's kind of a lap cat. Yes. I mean, my one cat's 20 years old. So
you have a 20-year-old cat.
She's 20 years old. Yeah.
What is her name?
Tiger.
Tiger.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
So we got Tiger and our other cat, Nesbit, which Nesbit passed away probably about 4 years ago.
Sorry.
So we got them. Thank you. We got them as sisters. They were the same. They were just tiny little kittens. We were going to just get one, but then, of course, we couldn't decide between the two, so we took them both. And they were great cats. Yeah, so we've had her for 20 years.
20 years is a long time.
Yeah.
I have a cat at my mom's house. I always kind of say it's my cat because it was given to me as a present when I was 13. His name is Waffles. Waffles is amazing. He's 18 years old.
Awesome.
Which everybody in the family is. You're right. She absolutely wants out now. you can let her out. She just wanted to see what you can just leave it open.
She was gonna say hi.
Yeah, it's okay. She wants to bolt in and out. That's not a big deal. What's up, Clarice?
So yeah, my other
back
cat.
now. Okay.
I do have another cat, and I really don't know how old she is. We just inherited her from a family member. Very sweet cat. She likes to be held and lay on you when you're sleeping and all that good stuff. But she's anywhere from, I don't know. They told us first that she was 9, and then they said she was 15, but she doesn't really act that old. She acts more, maybe the 9 years old, but...
How long can cats live? 'Cause they can live...
They can live into their 20s, I think.
It's crazy.
I think the oldest cat I've ever heard, I don't, like 32 years old. I don't think my cat's going to make it that long, but she's all right for now. I have a 14-year-old dog, too, so...
So you have a lot of old
I have a lot of old pets, yeah.
That's okay though. Sometimes the old pets are nice. They're not as wild. They're more calm, content. They're okay. I like them. Yeah. I know for Waffles, there's no way he's gonna live till he's 32 or 22 or whatever. We always joke in my family. This is terrible, but I'll admit it. So he's rather bony right now.
That's my cat.
Probably has some diabetes or something.
Yeah.
He's an indoor-outdoor cat, so he kind of eats rabbits or does other things. He only has one tooth left. That's
pretty good though to be that old and be an indoor-outdoor cat. Because my cats have always been indoors. So
he spends less time outdoors. But I'm over there a lot. He only really goes out, when it's nice out. I really emphasize on my mom, please do not let him out when it's winter time. He's gonna freeze. He's already brittle enough as it is. But the joke that we say is if you see him, he's rather bony now. He seems kind of gaunt. His eyes are sunken in his face and stuff.
Yep.
But we joke that when he gets fed, we're like, well, the parasites in him get the first round of food, and then he gets whatever's left over.
We've got,
my mom's never taken him to get extensive work.
Yeah, my 20-year-old cat she's had a heart murmur for like 4 or 5 years, and you wouldn't really know it. And she literally, when she walks, she looks, like the Halloween cats that have the hunched over back. That's how she walks. Okay. She literally looks like a Halloween, like the scared cat up in the back up in the air.
Is her tail all puffed out too?
Her tail usually just kind of hangs down to the ground. But
that's good.
When she walks, she looks like a Halloween cat.
Goodness gracious. How are you doing on your beverage there?
I'm good.
Is that okay? I just want to make sure. I'm like, if you need something, like blink twice or be like, hey, I ran out. I'm thirsty.
Yeah,
like,
no, I'm good.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Yeah. I just want to make sure I'm being a good host for this. So.
You're being a very good host. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, so I had noted that I think this is a good time to reference your notes because we had talked about the relatable humor. There's a lot of relatable humor in this. And there's a couple of scenes. What are some of the first scenes that you had on here that you thought were relatable or funny?
So I kind of did these somewhat in order. I was trying to write them down as I was watching rewatching the movie a few days ago to kind of get it fresh in my head. And you can't really talk about this movie without mentioning the hotel scene.
Of course.
Where the two guys they end up in the same bed.
Yep.
And there's a little cuddling, I guess, going on.
Some spooning. It's real.
Some.
They had to share the bed. What do you want them to do?
Yeah, and they're missing their families, and they're what? I mean, I don't.
It's okay.
Yeah.
John Candy's a cuddly guy. I'd probably share a bed with him.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
I mean, cozy up to him and stuff. So, and I mean, like what I'm referencing.
I do.
The part.
Those aren't pillows.
Yeah.
What I will say about that scene, because first off, that whole sequence is just very relatable because, and that's one of the brilliant things about planes, trains, and automobiles is that granted it's a different time, but travel hasn't changed that much since this movie came out. And now, granted, this is 87, so we're in 2021 now. I don't even know the math. Like 30, 40 years, something like that.
Yeah,
it's a long time.
30 some years. Yeah,
it's a long time. But you can buy it. You can buy in it. They're like, okay, they go to a shitty motel. There's only one room left because everybody got snowed in and they had to get their the hotels booked up. Sure, they could only share one bed, so it's plausible.
Yeah.
But what I love about that scene is the attention to detail because and this is where I'm going to sound kind of very film oriented, but I love how the camera is just sitting on top of them, and it's just a very slow panning shot, and they're playing that delightfully cheesy music. I don't know what the song is, if anybody has seen it.
Yeah, I can't picture it right now.
Because they're like, bum, bum, and it's just like, I am there in nature's arms. It's a very like romantic, sweet song, but it's with two guys in a bed.
Yes, now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I couldn't picture it first, but yeah.
So somebody listening will know the song.
Yes, I know it. Yeah.
But I love it because it's panning over. You see that the bed, like he's got a bunch of like cigarette butts and crap all over the nightstand. He's got Cracker Jack crumbs like in the bed next to him. He's wearing pajamas, and it just takes its time. It doesn't like just show them in bed. Yeah, and that's what makes the build-up so much funnier because you see like this big hulking guy just cradling Steve Martin in his arms.
It's like he just totally moved into the hotel room and just took it over. Yeah. And
then of course, I mean, we have to break the scene down. But it's like they wake up. Well, first I remember he nuzzles his ear. He's just like oh sweetie.
And they're holding hands too. I think he's got like his arm around. They're like kind of holding hands.
Well, and Steve Martin doesn't even realize he takes the kiss in good straight. It's just like okay, that felt good, But then it's like they both wake up and they realize, oh yeah, this is a guy I met on the plane last night. I have no idea who.
Yeah, it's like you see their faces and they're all of a sudden both like yeah.
And he's just like, Del, why did you kiss my ear? Just like, why are you holding my hand? He's just like, where's your other hand? Between two pillows. Those aren't pillows. Ah! And you know what I'll say? Because I saw the movie when I was a kid. I had no idea what they were talking about. It was like between two pillows. Like, yeah, sure, he's got some extra pillows in the bed.
Yeah. Because there's 25 pillows on a hotel room bed.
Do people know what we mean by the two pillows? Do I need to spell it out? Or do they know? I think they know.
I would think that they know.
They know what the
pillows
unless
are. We've got very young listeners, but I would assume that.
Well, they weren't Jeez, they weren't your standard cotton
No.
woven pillows.
No, they were.
No, they were
not really pillows.
not especially, but.
No.
It's a hysterical scene, and I do love that. They're such insecure heterosexual men that they start to brush off. They're just like, you see that Bears game? All right, yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
men.
they instantly jump out of the bed and they're like, yeah, did you see the game last week? The Bears, yeah, they're having a good season this year. Yeah, they just instantly jump up and just go.
That scene is absolutely hysterical. What's another one that you were thinking of?
Okay, so we kind of touched on this a little bit before we got started here. So, Dell's always trying to get a way home. He's trying to get Neil home. He knows he knows he's getting home to his family and all that. And so he's got a friend. He sells his shower curtain, the curtain.
Director of sales, shower curtain ring division.
Yeah. I was trying to think of the word ring, but So he knows people. He's like, yes. Oh yeah, I know this guy that's, he works for the railroad, and I think we can get a ride home on this train. The scene where he sends his son to pick them up.
Yeah, his name's Owen. I can't. Hang on. I gotta try to do a pig noise better. Hang on. That's pretty good.
I mean, that's the only way to describe. I'm always, every time we watch this movie, I'm just like, I ask my husband and son, I'm like, what is that? No, what is that? I grew up in rural, I don't know what he's doing. Is he clearing his, I don't know. Does he gotta?
I think he spends too much time around hogs. He's spending a lot of time on the farm. A little too comfortable with the pigs.
Maybe have some, chew stuck in the throat? I don't know.
He spits out tobacco right away.
Yeah.
And when he shakes Steve Martin's hand.
Yeah, because then he has it all over his hand.
Maybe it's he's done so much chew and tobacco and crap that his sinuses are just forever screwed up.
Yeah, his lungs are just trying to get it out. I don't know.
I will say, so that actor, I could be mistaken, someone could fact check me, but that's Dylan Baker. I believe that's his name. I think. He's actually a good actor. I don't know, most people would probably recognize him. It's not a big part, but he's in the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. He plays Dr. Connors. He's one of Peter Parker's college professors. Just a little note, but he's actually a wonderful character actor. He pops up in a lot of good movies.
It's funny when you see people like that, because you might see him in a movie and you're like, gosh, I can't, I can't even stand that guy, whatever. And then you find out that there's some brilliant actor and you never even knew, and you're like, oh, that's that guy?
Okay, so I have to ask another question about that scene, and you're a woman, so I want your perspective on this. So he's got a wife in the truck.
Yeah.
He does. And he gets a bit upset. He's like, "Get your behind out of the car! You need the help. Get the trunk in the back of my truck."
Back of the truck.
But then, they get, of course, they're just like, no. They're like, she's a woman. They got a newborn baby in the car. But she's like, oh no, she's short and skinny, but she's strong. Her first baby come out sideways. She didn't scream or nothing. And I'm just wondering. I don't know a lot about childbirth, Kim, funny. But. Can a baby actually come out sideways?
I'm not sure about the sideways part. I know sometimes they come in upside down or back. I don't know. I guess they're supposed to come out upside down, I guess.
Right.
Not to get too...
It's okay. Childbirth is important. Yeah. People could always stand to learn more.
So, I have a son, and my experience, I was honestly really lucky. I didn't feel pain. I didn't need drugs.
Really?
Yeah,
it was a pretty straightforward.
I honestly didn't even know when I was the nurse had to tell me when I was having contractions because I didn't know. So I have a pretty high pain tolerance, but
what if I decked you right now?
I don't know. No one's ever punched me in the face, so I don't know about that. But
no, that wouldn't. I don't think you'd come back for the podcast if I decked you.
I don't know. I can't really see you just doing that. So
it's not really
nice.
me. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not really a violent guy like that. That sounds. It's getting dark. I'm hitting people, talking about hitting
people and
no.
Yeah.
So babies. They don't generally come out sideways.
I don't think they generally do.
Okay.
I want to say they, lengthwise is typically what you're...
I just imagine that would be horrible.
If it actually happened sideways, probably would... Yeah, you'd probably feel that.
I don't know.
So, I Unless it was a very tiny baby. I don't know, but most babies...
And it's a subtle thing, too, because when she gets out of the car, she slams that door shut.
Yeah.
Like, she's strong.
She's
I'm scared of her. And she's tiny. She's a little tiny lady.
She looks a little... Yeah,
But that scene is quite funny.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, because I love hypotheticals. I talk about them on my podcast often. You're there. Mm-hmm. Owen, the hotel owner's son, is going to take you to the train station. What's your thoughts getting into this guy's car? Are you okay with it?
So, okay, so when he pulls up in the truck, first of all, I gotta say, my family, we're car family, and I love his truck. I love trucks. I have an old truck myself. I have like a 64 Chevy. So the truck would be my first thought. And when he pulled up, I'd be like, that truck's a little rough, but it's cool, And I'd probably more be inclined to jump in the back of the truck with the, I don't know. I'd be like, this dude's pretty weird, but
it's also really
probably
cold.
Go. Yeah, I mean it's a ride.
I do like the dog that's hiding under the hay. You don't even know the dog's back there.
That dog looks like my dog, but my dog is not mean like that.
No.
I have a blue heeler, and yeah.
What is it? Or you've told me about the blue heeler before.
Yeah, she's like the best dog in the world.
But see, when you say that, I think your dog's actually blue. Like Blue's Clues.
She's kind of a bluish black gray. Yeah.
You showed me the picture.
She's kind of
blue.
Yeah. She and they're going back to the rodeo country stuff. That blue heelers are cattle dogs, so they are used to rounding. So she rounds up our cats. Like that's her job. She has to let us know where the cats are at all times. So. But yeah, when I saw the dog, I'm like, that looks like our dog, and our dog is not mean like that. But it was funny. Like, the dog just comes out of the hay, in the back of the truck, and just,
I love the way
gloves there, and he's, like, trying to,
Well, for whatever reason, I love the way that John Candy says, give him the goddamn gloves!
like the dog's just going to do it.
No.
Dog's like, no, let me just eat your face.
And then it is actually one of the more cartoony moments in it, but once they get there, they have it show, like, he's so blue. It's like so over the top. You have, like, the boogers are coming out a little bit because they're so cold. And he's just like, and then the dog's even like,
yeah, the dog's like frozen.
But it's relatable.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, because, like, I could see myself, if I had to get somewhere and, like, I don't have my means, I don't have any means, like, sure, if it'll get me there.
And I mean, they kind of know this guy because, I mean, they don't, but they kind of know.
But they know the hotel owner, Dell does.
Yeah, because he comes out and he's like, oh, yeah, you're the shower curtain guy. So, I mean, he's the right guy because he knows who they are. So, even though he's weird.
I will say, though, when he spits the tobacco in his hand and shakes Steve Martin's hand, if that was me, I don't think I would do it.
Yeah,
I don't care about pleasantries. If you just literally put it into your hand and, like, did that,
no. Or sneeze in your hand. I mean, I've seen that happen.
It's COVID times. You can't even get away with that now. No way.
I don't.
It'd be a bit much.
It'd be a little gross.
So what's another scene that you had? You had a few more.
Yeah, so, let's see. Oh, okay, so, the rental car lot.
Can we wait on that one?
Yeah, we can wait on that one. I'll skip that for now.
Okay.
And then it kind of goes into after the car, like, let me see what. Basically, everything else has to do with when they're traveling in the car. And this rental car they do end up with.
Okay, we're gonna hold on that.
Okay, so we'll hold on that.
Because I definitely have it on here as something that we got to talk about for sure. So we're gonna share. Hopefully, I imagine that because again we're talking about relatable humor. I imagine, Kim, you probably have some pretty terrible travel stories, or you've maybe experienced one or two. Some moments, maybe.
Yeah, so a few. Well, I guess they're a couple. So I have relatives that live in Oregon, and my dad. Several of his siblings live in Oregon, still do, and some cousins of mine. So I think I was probably about 13 years old, and we decided we were going to go visit them in Oregon. We were going to drive. It was kind of like the family truckster. We were going to drive this, and we literally had one of those station wagons, and my dad was like, we're going to drive to Oregon. So we're like, okay. So we drove straight through to Oregon the first time.
And how far of a drive is
that? It's like, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 miles. I mean, it's like, we drove straight through. It took us 2 days, I think. And that's just stopping and eating whatever bathroom break stuff. No hotel the first time. The second time we learned our lesson, but the first time we decided we're gonna drive straight through. So not only was it that, but here's the scenario. Um, there was several of us in this car. It literally, like I said, it reminds me of the Vacation movie every time I think of it. So we've got 3 people in the front seat. We've got 4 preteen, teenage kids in the middle seat, and then those old wagons had the very back where had like a little seat that I don't know if you remember this. You're a little young, but so it had like a third seat basically in the back.
Yeah, if it's like a classic station wagon like vehicle, yeah. I don't think I've ever rode in one, but
and then it folds down, and then you can put all your bags and whatever. And so 3 littler kids in the very back. So we had like 9, 10 people in this car.
That is a lot.
Yeah, driving straight to Oregon from Iowa.
I don't want to interrupt the story, but I do have an immediate question because there's not a hotel. Where does sleep occur?
So, and one thing about driving from Iowa to Oregon is you go through like Wyoming, which I love Wyoming. It's very pretty. But, I mean, you drive, and this has been years ago, so I don't know what it's like now if there's more convenience stores or whatever. But, I mean, we'd literally drive hundreds of miles without seeing a store. So, like, when we saw one, we'd be like, I don't care if you have to go to the bathroom or get it, whatever, you're going to go. Like, you're going to do it now. And so, yeah, it was just very long. And so I think, I don't remember exactly, but I think what we would do is we'd just find a spot to pull over for, like, my dad would get tired. And he'd be like, okay, we're going to stop at, a park or whatever. We're going to pull over for a little bit. He'd take a little nap. All his kids, like, had blankets and, trying to sleep 4 people in a seat and then 3 little kids in the back. I mean, it was crazy. And then, we did that. And then a couple other people that were with us, they would also take turns driving a little bit. One of my aunts drove for a short time, but she was a little scary driving. So, so we had that going on. Plus, one of my cousins got car sick. Oh, no. So, I mean, many people in a car, somebody's gonna get sick.
Now, is it like you gotta pull over and let him hurl? Like, what are we talking?
Yeah, we did. I think what he did is he stuck his head out the window and just like
just let it fly.
Just let it fly.
Is there any cars behind?
I don't think so. I think we were kind of in that remote area where there wasn't a lot of traffic, but we just were like, roll the window down.
Like, we have a deadline. We can't waste more time.
Yeah,
just do it.
And luckily it wasn't like a chain reaction thing. I think he just kind of out the window and then everything was okay. Nothing happened in the car.
He's in the clear back seat,
He's in the middle seat with me, so he's like next to me.
Because see, I wonder the danger, because like if depending on the trajectory of the vomit, what if it flew back?
I was a little worried. Yeah, I was a little worried about that. Yeah. But luckily that didn't. I don't think that happened because I think I would probably remember that.
Yeah.
I kind of have a short memory, but. So then we did cross country. We did do that trip again. A couple years later. So my mom passed away when I was like 14. My dad decided that we were going to move to Oregon after that. So we ended up doing this cross-country trip again. We have one of my aunts, we lived with them while we were out there. I started my freshman year of high school, kind of middle freshman year of high school at Oregon. And then about 2 months later, we all decided we missed Iowa and wanted to come back. But luckily on the way there, we did stay at hotels the second time.
And if you've already said it once, I just want to make sure I didn't miss it. What is in Oregon again? Or what was the reason for going?
I think my dad, just wanted to be closer to his sisters that were out there. Okay, and thought maybe just like a new start, maybe. I don't know, something.
Did you live there then?
We did for a couple months.
Oh, okay.
But that's all it lasted, and then we all got homesick and decided to truck back to Oregon. And I think we left my one aunt behind that came with us.
Which part of Oregon? I'm not familiar very much with the state. I've never been there. But.
They lived, gosh, I can't remember. I want to say they're not too far from like Portland, but it was a smaller town. Like their town was a little bit bigger than what I grew up in, but it was still kind of a small town.
It's supposed to be very pretty out there.
It's very pretty, yeah. We visited the ocean at one point, just to see it.
Did people swim there?
There were some people, so we would run, we ran out to the ocean, and then we would get it, because I am kind of freaked out about water. I I can play in water and like as long as I can touch the ground, I'm okay. But
Do you
like
know how to
deep
swim?
water, no. Like
No.
I kind of do, but I just get freaked out by water.
Oh, okay.
So
I gotta ask about that. I'm sorry. The questions are coming, but so I'm always actually really fascinated about this because I know there are a lot of adults actually that are either uncomfortable with swimming, they maybe don't know how to do it, whatever. But was it just something that because of fear you never had swim lessons, or was it just I'm just curious.
no, so this is the kind of funny. So when I was younger, I didn't really have a fear of swimming. I think what did it all is that we had one of the parks that's close to me. Me and a couple friends went swimming there. They had like a little beach area. And I didn't know how to swim, but I was just like, I'll just go out in the water and do this and whatever. Well, I got too far out and I didn't know how to swim, so I couldn't get myself back. And I just fought my way until I could. And so from that moment on, I'm kind of like, yeah, no, water's not really for me. So, I mean, if I'm at a pool and I can touch the ground, I'm okay.
Sure.
So, like, if I'm at the beach or whatever, like, I'll play at the edge of the water, get my feet wet and whatever. But yeah, swimming, just not my thing. And
No.
water and heights, that's my
Everybody has
kryptonite.
fears, though.
Yeah.
Everybody has fears. I'm terrified of bees, wasps, bumblebees, anything that flies basically and gets close to me. I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of butterflies. So
Oh, I love butterflies.
Yeah, my fiance loves butterflies too. Yeah, we have a good story about a butterfly, but I'll have to share that at another time. But